welcome back to another weekly showcase of progress at the Sharkstead. I'm Mark, and I'm going to tell you what we've been up to for the last 7 days. So we've been mainly focusing on gathering resources to burn for this year's winter, as well as getting through the larger stumps that was left over from cutting the trees down on our first working holiday, which included the pear tree and the large peach tree stump that you've seen in previous videos near the front of the house. Now, we've tackled these stumps using log splitters, chainsaws, axes, sledgehammers, anything we can come across, because they are just so girthy. The chainsaw gets blunt immediately after 15 minutes. They're just extremely thick. So I can show you here, for example, this is a wood splitting grenade and it's cast from solid steel. And you can see it used to have another 2 inches that came to a point, and that ended up halfway into one of the stumps that we were splitting, and with the pressure it just cracked. So that's now obsolete. With all the broken axes that we've gone through, where they've just bounced off with the wood being so tough, we've now got various axe heads that we're replacing for the wood splitter. They need sharpening, but that's that. Because they've got a big head on the bottom, we thought we'd use the lump hammers to smash the axe heads. And then all of a sudden, the 6-pound sledgehammer head flew off because it only had a fiberglass handle, and we were absolutely pushing that tool to its limits to smash the wood. So now we've got random paperweights that weigh about 6 pounds each that are just having to find various uses for until we can get round to fixing them. So these are the last 2 large stumps that we've got, and you can see the diameter. And I put my foot next to it, that's over 1 foot wide. And this used to be, I think, a pear tree. Now for this one, it's just too wide for the chainsaw. You're gonna have to need a new blade, and we don't really know what we're gonna do with it. They could both end up being just garden seat benches for the prolonged period of time until they break down and make it easier to use and source wood from. So you can see there's other piles of wood here as well. And that's because we've been focusing on clearing the vines and pruning our neighbour's yard as well as ours. And this wood is mainly used for next year, and you can see that I've been starting to gather a bit of a small log store where we've got the tinder bags up on the right hand side, various logs of various sizes, and all this has to be seasoned for the next 12 months. So with that, we actually had the waterman arrive the previous few days, and he asked about our neighbour and what we're thinking of doing to her land. And I says, well, here's the contact number, you can talk to her herself. And he rang her there and then, and she was very enthusiastic with us using her land to keep the soil microbes working, because it's been neglected for 1.5 years. And with that, we want to focus majority of our growing this year in her plot, and that's purely down to the reason of we don't know what garden plan we're doing yet. We know where the leisure's going, we know we want raised beds, we know we want some sort of food forest permaculture method, but there's a lot of work to be done in our garden until it's ready for that. So coming around here, the last couple of days we've started to prepare her land and try and introduce new nutritions and minerals back into the soil for our growth of plants. And the plan is to take down all the vines, all the weeds, using hoeing, trimming, things like that, and make a burn line across this area in front of our wall. And then we can rake that potash then across the garden, mix it in, and it should give the soil a bit of a kickstart for the new year in spring. She had a lot of wine grapes, and unfortunately the 1.5 years where she's been gone, nature has just taken over and collapsed the majority of them. And unfortunately that means we are going to have to remove a lot of the structures of the vine trellises and rebuild where we can. So that means we're going to have to do a lot of repair work on the grape trellises to try and bring it back under control. Now we're hoping for the next week we're going to be at least 80% of the way through preparing this soil, and have the burn line ready to introduce the potash. We're also going to be tackling all the vines along the fence and bundling them up, adding them to the fire line, and hopefully chopping the crowns off of these double pear trees and processing that wood for this year's winter. So thanks very much for watching, and if you have similar experiences either preparing for winter or preparing land for planting crops, tell us what you suggest and tell us how you think about our methods in the comment section below. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.